Okay guys, we're going to be installing a Brandmotion rear backup camera in a 2016 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Backcountry. This will work in any JK model. The one we're going to install is for the factory display, but they also sell them an aftermarket display, and if you have no display, they make them in those rear view mirrors. So regardless of the type of Jeep you got, whether it be no display, factory display, there's something for you. Again, if you don't have a display, they have OEM rear view mirrors kits that when you put it in reverse, it shows up on half of your mirror. It's just a different model number. It's all on their website. As you can see, this is 9002-8847. It's the adjustable rear vision system, the backup camera. This is for aftermarket tires, or in this case, these are not stock tires, they're the aftermarket, or the upgraded edition on the backcountry, I should say. But I would recommend getting the adjustable, even if you have the standard stock tires. This gives you the adjustability you'll need, and this is better than OEM quality. I mean, this is, you get what you pay for here. They even have the VIN coder to unlock this so that it works instantly, and you don't have to spend $100 at your dealership having them unlock it. And it's high quality camera. It's just really good system. Like I said, it's your Jeep. You get what you pay for. In this case, I would definitely go with this one. After everything I've looked through and read and reviews and talked to, this is the one to go with. We're going to show you how to install it now. We've got to start here by removing the back tire. And again, like I said, you get what you pay for. I've spent a month looking at everything online and reviews and everything you can find. And this actually looks like it come out of the factory. I mean, it is absolutely spot on, high quality. You get what you pay for here. Sure, you can do it cheaper, but it's, you know, cheap is cheap. This is your Jeep. Spend the money, get it done, and people are going to think it come out of the factory that way. This is the piece that you plug in the front. Like I said, you'll see that later. It's VIN specific. This is what allows it to unlock the camera to the computer of the Jeep and makes it work. If you go to a dealership, a lot of them are going to charge you $100 just to unlock this. So if you take that off the cost of the price, you take and make a OEM quality material. I mean, it's not that expensive for what you're getting. And a Jeep, of all vehicles, with the high back tire, the windshield wiper mount, the smaller window, needs a backup camera. That's something you just really need. Of all vehicles, a Jeep needs it. Spare tire off. There's the stuff unboxed. There's the camera. And of course the instructions are not in the picture right now. Hook the camera in. And you absolutely do not ever run this cable through this hole. You'll break the wires. When the spare is on, you'll void the warranty. It does not go in this hole. You have to run it up through here and back through here. Again, it's very important that you don't run this cable through this hole. You can adjust it. I just had to adjust this up 3/4 of an inch. Alright, now that you got your bracket on, these little push nuts right here, get them started and then run the lug nuts in to tighten them all the way down. Then you can take your lug nuts back off if you want to. That holds the camera in. It also says you can reinstall the spare tire now, but we're going to wait till the end, till we get everything in, get the camera all in, put this thing all together, and then before you close it up, test it, make sure everything works, then go back and close everything up, put the tire on, do the final tightening then. But you can put the tire on now if you choose to. We're just not going to. And now you're going to want to get you a tool removal, plastic tool removal, or a panel removal, or you can cheap out like I did and buy a cheap 80-cent plastic putty knife. And you're going to go through here and pop these off, and then go down below and pop these off. And there it is with the trim piece off. And there's the trim piece. Now we're going to run these wires up through that hole right there, through that lower vent, and we have to fish them out through there, which I'll leave it to you to figure out how to do. It takes a little bit of doing. That may be the hardest part. I should also mention that you're going to need a T15 and 20 Torx bit, your standard metric socket screwdrivers, 3/8 socket, your plastic trim removal tool or putty knife or whatever you want to use. You're going to need a soldering iron, solder. You can use those T-taps that you snap in, but it's not really the best way to connect this. Soldering is better, but if you just don't want to solder, you can use those, and some electrical tape. And like I said, we've now got to get this wire, this may be the hardest part, down through here, and the vents are in here, and up through here and out through this hole here, which is probably the toughest part of this job, fishing. Okay, down in the vent there is where you feed it through from that hole right there. You feed it down through there and up through one of those vent flaps. Get you a hemostat or something and a cable, put it down through there, pull it out, tie it on, or tape it on and pull it up through. This, like I said, is the hard part. Okay, see, we took and pulled an old cable that we didn't need that was from in the house. You can use a wire, string, or whatever, and I used a clamp, reached in here and pulled it out. Now I'm going to attach the wires from the camera to that with some tape and pull it up through that hole. That was a real challenge. And as you can see, we just, like I said, this blue wire is just a scrap wire that we had around the house. You may use string or whatever you want, so don't expect to see this blue wire. That's just something we use as a feeder. This was taped onto here, this was taped onto here, and we're now going to feed that back up through there and out through the top, which is coming out here. So go ahead and pull it. And here it is pulled up through here, and we'll take this tape off. And we're pulling it through. Now, this plug, little plug, will come off from this plug off the end to help it make it easier to get it through here, and then attach this harness to this wire here, and then go through this loom. It may tell you, it may show you just strapping it to it, but it's cleaner, better look if you go through it, and that's the way I was told.
Leave enough slack.
Just leave enough slack. Now you're going to want to take this tie off, cut it off, force it out, put a new tie in, and get this tape off this loom so that you can insert your wire through this loom. So just unravel this tape and the loom will open. Now you have to remove them bolts there at 220 and remove that panel there so that you can run your wiring harness back through there. And as I just found out, that's a T30. The 16 model is. So just have an assortment of T-sockets. It says 15 and 20 in the manual that comes with it. But I would suggest just have an assortment, because these are actually T30 volts. Of course, the subwoofer is over here in the middle and not on the side. So, in this model. So, just an assortment of those T-sockets and you're good. You're going to want to take and pry this seat belt thing out and then start prying this apart to get this plastic piece off. When you're taking this off, you need to remember that back in front of the seat belt there is a 10 millimeter nut that you need to take off right up in front of the seat belt, or the roll bar cage, and then these are just brute force to pull these off. But don't forget there is a 10 millimeter nut under the plastic in front of the roll bar up there. Now, to do this job properly and make it look OEM, you're going to need to carefully clip off these little clips here and then tape this wire over this fabric. And when you do that, then you're going to take this piece and run it down through here inside this loom like that, and out over there. You're gonna have to retape this and everything when you're done, but you know, I mean, you could just run it across here, but that kind of looks junky. It doesn't look factory, and it's worth the extra 15 minutes to run it through here and out over here. You just need to take the time to do this. Clip these off, untape this, run it out here, and then reinstall the tape. That's really the way you need to do it if you're going with a system at this cost and this nice to do it right. See, we cut it free from these, and we'll take these out and put a new zip tie in. And now we're in the process of taking this tape off here so we can run that wire through the loom and then put this back. Okay, now we're going to run that cable from the camera down through that loom. Leave a little slack in it. And we're going to run it down through and out the end. By the way, something I didn't tell you is in that loom right there, there are 2 green and 2 white wires. Those are meant to be spliced together only if you don't want lines in your backup camera. You know, your 3-foot, 6-foot, 9-foot lines. You would splice the 2 green wires together, and that would eliminate the lines. So you can have it with or without lines, but you'd have to do it now. We just left it with lines. See, right in there is the white and the green wires. The white wires you would connect if you're using a mirror, so you wouldn't do it if you have a display. And the green wires is if you don't want the lines in your backup camera, you just twist them together and you're done. But we want the lines, so all 4 of those wires are not connected and don't get connected if you want the lines. It's set from the factory the way it is with the lines. So basically, if you see 2 green wires and 2 white wires that are not connected in this loom that comes out of the back of the tailgate, don't think that something's wrong. They're intentionally unconnected. And there's a little sleeve that he's pushing over them now to cover it. You don't want to connect them unless you don't want the lines or you're using the mirror. Again, we're using 9002 8847. I'm putting it on a 2016 Jeep Wrangler Backcountry, but it'll fit anything from, I think, 07 to the current year, 17. It'll fit too, supposedly. They have multiple different models. This is the adjustable rear vision, and it's if you have a factory display. Really good quality. It's from the makers is Brandmotion. Their website has the latest manuals for installing, which I would suggest going to their website and printing off the very latest version, because the one that comes with it is a little bit outdated for what we're doing for the 16 model. It's just it's nothing serious by no means. It's all generalized, but it's still they do have the newer version online if you want to print different instructions, but these do just fine. And there it is, pulled out of the end of the loom. Now we can take the loom back up, put the loom back in, and be done. Like I said, you could have just zip tied it to that, but don't do it. That looks junky. You know, if you've got an old junky one, maybe it don't matter, but make it look OEM. It's worth the extra 15 minutes. And there the loom is taped back up. We'll hook this in here, hook this back up, and here's the piece that's going to get connected up there in a minute. Okay guys, now we've brought up this wire. We've reattached our wire loom. Looks like it come out of the factory that way. These 2 little things, we pulled out the old zip ties, put in new ones, retaped this with electrical tape. We're bringing this up, and now if you notice going down through there, we're going to run this wire, which we're going to connect back to the main wiring harness. This is going to get connected back, and it'll be moved. It'll be connected back to this. These 2 will reconnect, and then we're going to run it down the wiring harness all the way down, follow the wire harness up through the floor or under the carpet, up toward the front, and you zip tie those on just slightly to snug. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on a zip tie because you don't want to cut the wire. It really doesn't need nothing but just to be secure.
This just pulls right off.
This pulls right out, right off. You have to unplug the 12 volt or cigarette adapter or whatever you call it. Pull this blue, push up on the blue wire, or the blue
I should just slide right out.
Plastic, and it slides right out. That lets the panel come off. So now we're going to attach that and run it down the wire harness to start bringing the cable up front. Okay, another detail is there is 2 arrows, one on each side. I don't even know if you can see them, but there's 2 little arrows on this connector. You're going to want to line those arrows up and push that in firmly, and you've got that reattached. Make sure the arrows line up on both of the plugs, and you've got it done perfectly. There, you can kind of see them. And now we're ready to run the cable up. Okay, and then as you come up to the back seat, passenger side, that carpet just pulls out from under the trim. There's the wire harness going down into the back seat, and then we're going to run it up to the front. And that cable that connects to the camera is going to come right down through there and be taped onto that harness. I'm talking about the long wire that comes with the Brandmotion camera. Remember, we hooked it up a few minutes ago in the back, and I told you to put the arrows together. That wire is going to come on up through on this wire harness and be just taped on it and go on up into the front. You want to remove these push pins and take this piece up off the... Okay, we taped the wire. You can see the black wire right there, and we loosened it up and went under this pillar. And then if we come around to the front here, you can see the black wire, point to it right there. And we're going to run it up, and we're going to go under the carpet right there, and we're going to zip it across there and come up under the console there. Okay, now you're going to take the bolts out.
Rubber mat out on the dash.
Rubber mat. And then those bolts.
Just one.
Bolt comes out of the dash there. 7 mil. Now you're going to want to take the window switch off using your trim tool, and you're going to take off the rest of these dash pieces with your trim piece. Now you pull this on out after you've popped it off from the top with your trim tool, and there's going to be some connectors back there. Probably going to have to push the blue,
There's red switches.
or the red tab out.
Bring it over on this side.
Yeah, pull the red tab out and then pull the harness off. Okay, this is the box we just pulled off. There's a tab
It's right here.
right there. That switch, the red switch, needs to be pushed up or in the opposite direction it is when you look at it. And then there's a tab in the back right there where he's touching. Touch that again. Push that in.
Should pull right out.
And this pulls right out. May take some little bit of force, but it will. Now you got to take that bolt off right there. 7 mil. There was a lever up there that you just pulled down, and this trim piece,
No, you just pull the trim piece to it.
this trim piece just comes off.
You
Just pull it down.
and then it bends down and you pull it out of its hole right here.
And now there should be 2 right there's one, and there's one on the other side. I don't know if you can see it or not. There it is. You undo those.
7 mil here.
And the dash piece should come off. Now you start pulling this dash piece off. Takes a little bit of effort, but you'll get it.
Sure this whole thing doesn't come off?
Nope. Just pull the dash.
It feels like this whole thing's wanting to move.
Go. Okay, the whole center stack comes off down to the center. We thought it was just the outer piece, but it's actually all the way past the display that comes off now. As you can see, it's coming free right here. You just got to pull a little bit, tug a little bit.
Duck up over here.
And be careful, especially if it's Mama's Jeep. Don't want to make Mama mad. Lower the Jeep handle, or the wheels, tilt wheel, and get in where you fit in. There you go. Now that's off.
Really?
Now, as you can see, you've got the dash panel off. I'll go get it on the other side in a minute. You got the center tray out. You got all the pieces to the dash here. As you can see from this side,
HVAC.
okay, now we're going to be removing this panel here
HVAC.
and removing the connectors on the back, probably the same way as the upper one with the red tab. One word of advice: you may not want to cheap out like I did and buy a 98-cent plastic scraper, because some places it's just not strong enough, especially up there. But we made it work. Now this is coming off and laying down, and we may not have to pull the wires off. Okay, now we're going to take the 4 bolts out of this display so we can pull it out and plug in the pin in the back of it. And we're going to pull the cable up through there.
After I already ran it through the floor.
After it's been ran through the floor.
Coming up right over here.
Coming up right over here in the very corner. And then we'll pull it up through here and connect it after we put the pin on the back of here. Pull out the GPS unit, the display. Now you plug that pin in right there in the back of the GPS.
That's wired down.
Comes with the Brandmotion, and run the wire down through there. And then you put this back in right away. It should go in relatively easy. If you meet resistance, you may have the wire bound up in it.
There's a bit of resistance because there's clamps right here clamping it.
Now you're putting the 4 bolts back in on the display, 1 in each corner, 7mm, just slightly snug, not overdone. Again, there's 4 of them. Okay, as you can see, we splice the wires into the 12-volt adapter down there. Actually, we put in the T-nuts and we'll tape them. And you see that the connectors have been connected there. And we're about ready to get this thing ready to see if it works.
We're ready to test it right now.
Just about ready to test it.
We gotta turn it on.
Okay, now we're gonna ready to program, and we're gonna hook into that connector right there using this. Take this. Put the key in the ignition and turn it all the way over, but not starting it. There. Now, plug that into the modular. It should honk twice.
Coming sooner than later for our guy Joey Bosa, but the question is,
Did you pull it back out?
Nope.
Okay, pull it out. Okay. Turn the ignition off. Okay, start the car. Put your foot on the brake and put it in reverse. There she is. Okay, now we're gonna put the wires in. There's gonna be 3 or 4 foot of excess wire. It's gonna be rolled up. Put a piece of electrical tape around it and then a zip tie. Tuck all your wires in. By the way, that plugging that thing in under the dash to program the backup camera or unlock it would cost you about $100 at a dealer. Some dealers may push it further than that. It took, what, 5 seconds to actually do that part? So when you're looking at backup cameras, remember that's included in the price of this camera. So you don't have to go to the dealer and spend $100 and an hour getting there, and who knows if it'll take them an hour to get to it or what. So that's worth at least $100 right there, or maybe more if you count your time. Now we got to start reassembling everything, which is exactly the reverse as we took it off. Button it all up, make sure everything's good and tight. All the carpet's back under, everything's put in nice and neat. And that's the Brandmotion OEM style backup camera for a factory display. Like I said earlier, you can get one for the mirror if you don't have a factory display. I'm going to say it took us probably 3 hours, maybe 3.5 hours, but we monkeyed around a little bit. Read, double checked, triple checked, stopped for a break, stopped to drink some. Kind of just took our time. If you was in a hurry and you just went straight to it and got right at it, you'd probably be done in 2 hours or less. Gotta put it all back together like I said, and we'll be done. And that's the installation. Pretty easy, not too bad. Just take your time. Anybody with just average skills can do it. If you can change your oil and put gas in your car and you know, basic stuff, you'll get away with it. This video will be good help to you because it helps you where the instructions may not necessarily make it where you understand it if you're limited mechanical skills. So between the instructions and this, you'll have no problem. Now we just got to button it all back up and we'll be done. And there's proof that it all goes back together, and actually that was really simple to take off the dash in this Jeep.
It's even more simple to go back together.
And even simpler to go back together. And there it is, all reassembled. And what I was talking about earlier, putting it through the wire harness, see, it's worth the effort. And that's pretty much it. Okay, it's all put back together. Remember, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And it wouldn't hurt to replace your reverse lights with LED lights to make it even brighter. That's it, guys. That's all done. And there's your rear backup camera. Wasn't a bad install. Really good product. Highly recommend.
Did you need to get down there?
This is a Brandmotion OEM style backup camera on a 2016 Jeep. Thanks for watching.